And we'll start with Adam Grossbart.
Hey, Vic, Keary, thanks for doing this today. Vic, Marlin's really been a standout through these first 3 games. Where have you seen him improve the most over the past year?
I think first and foremost, his love of the game. You know, a guy that's constantly hungry for knowledge of defensive line play. What can I do better? That was something that took me by surprise at the beginning. And now his technique and fundamentals and understanding who he's going up against and how they're going to block him, I think is what's, attributed to his success on the field. And really all his work he's put in, in practice, it's starting to show. And we have a long way to go. There's a lot of plays that he left out there, and he knows and I know. But that would be his biggest jump, I think, is his technique, both in the run and in the pass.
Is there an example that stands out to you in terms of his love of the game? Like just how he grasps on looking for more knowledge?
Yeah, when you have players that ask really specific questions, I noticed in the third quarter, that they run this run plays. That's something they do consistently, and then asking about offensive coordinators and what have they done previously, what are they used to against 3-4 and 4-3. I think for me, it's more the types of questions he's asking. It's no longer about which way am I going. It's more about, okay, now I know what to do. Now how am I going to get in the best position to make a play?
We'll go to Ryan Karchi.
Good morning, guys. Vic, just piggybacking on that question, what about Tuley that you've seen over this time has surprised you, just being that he is a true freshman?
Yeah, I didn't know a lot about Tuley coming into it, but kind of in the same sense as how Marlin's, built and wired. He obviously, little brother, he's got the same mindset, and he just runs. Like everywhere he goes as hard as he can go. And I told him that was one of the gifts that he's had, or that he has as a player, is that he just goes. He takes coaching really well. He takes hard coaching. He's a coach me coach kind of player, but he just goes. And as a defensive line coach, having a player like that, where you see it in practice over and over and over, whether he's playing against the 2s, 3s, or 1s, it excites you to, and then you kind of throw him in a little bit in the first game, and he still just goes, right? And so my job is just to point him in the right direction and keep that fire burning.
How would you describe Tuley and Marlin's relationship, especially when they're playing together?
When they're playing together, I'd say they're in sync. They know each other well enough, obviously, but there isn't a lot of conversation on the field of which way, this way, that. It's just like kind of a head nod and a point, or like a good job, tap on the helmet type deal. Off the field, it's pretty funny. I throw some jabs in there at Marlin and Tuley sometimes, and you get the banter back and forth. But I'd say they're just in sync.
Is it a real big brother, little brother dynamic, or is it a little more even than that?
Marlin's not that type of guy, the showboaty, like punk your little brother type deal. He's kind of quiet, but Tuley kind of has the little like younger brother, want to show up everybody type attitude. So there isn't really a dynamic. It's more like, we're here for a job and let's go get it done.
Okay, Eric McKinney.
Keary, Bruce seems like maybe he's starting to scratch the surface a little bit of what was expected of him as that kind of, big time recruit. What's that process been like of getting him to this point, and where do you feel like he is sort of in that maturation process of where he could get to?
I feel like he's growing every day. He's a very hardworking young man. Football means a lot to him. He's been kind of taking his role and just starring in it, whatever it is. If it's 5 plays, if it's 20 plays, if it's 30 plays, he just goes as hard as he can and he just tries to make plays. He's had a great season so far, and he's doing everything that he's been doing since he's been here and since he started practicing with us. So obviously we have some talented receivers in the room, and really just trying to get them out there at different times is the part that's the hardest, because they're all talented, they all can play, and I think he's just done a great job of just taking advantage of the time that he's had out there.
What's the dynamic of I guess the room when you have so many guys that want to play and pushing each other and all of that?
Well, I mean, the one thing, we try to stress as an offense and as a team really is that everything starts from the top down. So, obviously we have team goals, and then we have offensive unit goals, and then we have a position group goal. And then after that comes the individual, and everybody's individual goals. So, as long as all those things are in order, I don't see things getting in the way. Everybody's kind of focused on the what's best for the team, and really just trying to be a champion for the team. You know what I mean? And they've done a great job with it and handling it and working hard every day, encouraging one another, supporting one another, and really just taking advantage of opportunities whenever it comes, and really just trusting the process and understanding that their time will come.
Let's go to Mark Culkin.
Good morning, guys. Coach Vic, can you talk about Nick Rodriguez? He seems to always be around the ball whenever the play comes to fruition. He's kind of like that silent assassin guy. What does he bring to the room, to the line? Because he doesn't get the same notoriety that the Drake Jackson or Marlin does. Talk about him.
I think you mean Nick Figueroa.
Oh, sorry, Nick Figueroa. I apologize. It's early for me. Thank you.
Yeah, he's another another guy that just does his job. And so in our room, we talk about practice a lot, and how you perform in practice is going to obviously spill over into the game. And someone that's actually taken to Nick's style of play, we just talked about Tuley, how he would just go. But Nick does the same thing and just doesn't complain or say anything other than, let me get my job done. And what I try to tell them in this defense, as a defensive lineman, there are no decoys. Like, you're not just going out of the way just to get out of the way for the blitz. Because of Coach Orlando's style and the type of defense we play, every one of us has opportunities every play to go hit the quarterback. And he knows that our room, we've had a bunch of pressures, and to me, those are just missed sacks. And so we have all this opportunity of all of us hitting the quarterback, and it's like, we're getting there, but we're getting there a step late, or we're getting there and the ball's getting off. And so Nick has been one that studies film, loves film, goes really, really hard in practice, but is just making the most of his opportunities. He's doing what he's supposed to do within the defense. And when plays come to him, he's just making them. And that's the basic premise of our defense is everybody on our defense, all 11, they're going to be asked to make a play at some point. And the best defenses just make those plays. And the splash plays become routine plays. That's when a really, really good defense, is out there flying around. So Nick was probably the most sure player we have in our group. Like, I could tell him to go out there and play any position and he'd get it done.
Good. And then for Coach Colbert, you're talking about the receiver group. Can you talk specifically about the new guys, the Gary Bryants, who are trying to get on the field and make a play, and sacrificing their body, just blocking and showing up on the field, but maybe not in the stat book?
Yeah, they're doing a great job of coming in and learning and I tell the receivers all the time, your greatness can't always be measured by a statistic. Statistics can only tell you about yards and catches and touchdowns, but I mean, there's a lot of great players that do a lot of great things, whether it's blocking, whether it's, running great routes, whether it's running a guy off or setting a guy up, or there's a lot of great things that can be done on a football field without statistics. So, I mean, those dudes are working their tails off. And of course, you know, everybody wants to be rewarded with the ball, and that will come, you know, in time. And we're looking forward to finding ways to get those guys involved a little bit more. But you know, just to talk a little bit more about those young guys, I mean, they really have some great older guys in front of them that they're learning from. They're seeing, you know, how to work in college and how to practice and how to play. And I think sometimes that you know, is underappreciated a little bit. You know what I mean? The fact that you get to learn. I think about my experience in Carolina as a rookie, and I had Muhsin Muhammad, Ricky Prohl, Steve Smith, you know, just to name a few of the guys that I got to learn from. And when I look back on my career playing, you know, a lot of things that I learned from those dudes early on were things that saw me through in my entire career. So, you know, I know that as a fact, and you know, and I'm helping those guys understand that, and their time is coming, and you know, we tell them all the time to be ready, and that time might be this week, that time might be today, and they're talented players, and they're gonna have great careers at USC, and we're excited about them.
Ryan Young.
Vic, this may overlap with your last answer, but going back to Marlin, the position he plays isn't always one that's conducive to big stats, but he is putting up numbers. Has he talked to you about how his role is different in this defense, or just based on your own knowledge of what they did last year? Is there something that he's being asked to do differently that's really putting him in position to make these big plays?
Yeah, he's being asked to be violent and run. I think that's the biggest thing is he's been he's taken a step forward and taken the coaching of, look, this is what happened last year, and we watched plays together of him playing last year, and just showing him that there's so much more, you know, out there for him to get done. And then him fully buying in, like we talked about. But then again, our defense isn't one where the nose tackle is the nose tackle that just eats blocks, right? Our defense, our defensive line, they're going to be asked to make plays. And if you can make your splash plays, routine plays, then that's when you get into these conversations of, you know, being Pac-12 player, whatever it is, and actually getting some notoriety. So to Marlin's credit, he's just gone all in. You know, he hasn't looked back, and he's taken the coaching, even the hard coaching during the week. And he's just always asking for more and asking to get better. So as a comparison from last year to this year, I can't tell much about the scheme, but I do know that he's just playing with more of an anger about him on the field. And it's this quiet confidence that like goes through the whole team.
And then you've had a pretty tight rotation up front. What's your approach to managing the balance and how many guys you work in there?
Yeah, again, it comes down to practice. So if they weren't practicing well, they're not going to play. And it's really upfront and black and white with me. It's you want to play, then show up on Tuesday when we're going full speed and an inside run. Then show up on Wednesday when we do inside run. Then show up on Thursday when we do inside run. And that builds confidence in our group and also competition. You know, you take Tuley, for example. He's just been playing really, really well in practice, and he's slowly gotten more and more opportunities. And then, you know, we see what he does on Saturdays. So it just comes down to practice. I don't have a play count or this guy has to play. I think everyone in the room understands you want to play, then play all the time, not just on Saturdays.
Let's jump to shotgun.
How different for you guys is this week of practice going to be, just with some of the roster limitations that the team has?
You know, it'll be what it is. I mean, we'll practice with the guys that are out there. You know, there's you know, Coach Helton talks about it all the time. You know, no excuses, and we find solutions. So, you know, we've dealt with injuries in the past, and you know, you deal with things, and you just continue to practice and develop younger guys. I mean, it gives other guys opportunities to play, and you know, we'll figure it out when we get out there.
Yeah, for us, it's back to practice, man. You get opportunities to actually play with the ones or the twos or whatever it is, whatever your role is. If it's increasing and you get reps in practice, then you couldn't ask for anything more, really.
Ryan Karchi.
Keary, we're down to the last couple of weeks of this shortened season, and I guess I'm wondering, with a guy like, say, Gary Bryant, first, how much do you expect him to contribute in these next couple of weeks? And with a guy who comes in as a freshman at a deep position group and maybe might not play that much, how much does a season like this really help him? Because technically it doesn't count against his eligibility, but he still has that experience of 6 games at least.
Yeah, I mean, I hit on it in the last answer that I gave, but we expect him to be involved, and I think he's done everything in his power to be out there, and I know he wants to be out there, and he's gonna get out there more, and it's just kind of how it flows sometimes, and it's nothing against him. He's done everything in his power. He's a great player. Again, he's gonna have a bright future here, and we're excited to have him and to get him involved. And I think just to piggyback on what I said last time, I think he appreciates the opportunity to learn with the older guys that are in the room, and those guys aren't going to be here forever. You know what I'm saying? That's just the way it works at this school and at every school, honestly. But I think he's gaining valuable knowledge and experience, and his time is coming, and he's going to do some great things.
Being that Gary and those other freshmen will come back again as freshmen next season, do you feel like that puts them ahead of maybe guys who would have otherwise and maybe played a little bit in their freshman season, then been sophomores the next year? They have another year of eligibility.
Can you ask me that question again? I'm sorry.
Do you feel like guys like Gary are maybe ahead in the sense that they kind of get this free season, even if it is a shorter season, but it doesn't count against their eligibility? Like, how much does that help even the room heading into maybe next season, because the clock is stopped during this shortened season?
Yeah, I mean, that's all throughout college football, to be honest with you. I mean, that's everybody, you know what I mean? It's not just these guys, but it definitely can be an advantage, and it's almost like you said, it's a free season. It's almost like an extra spring ball, that really is not going to count against you. And I think their mindset, I know what their mindset is they want to compete and they want to do big things, and they've been showing up every day and making plays and stuff like that. So as far as the clock and all that stuff, I mean, everybody's clock is different, everybody's journey is different. That's the other thing I try to preach to the guys, is that there's no true blueprint to success in the sense of like when it comes or how it comes. Everybody's journey is different, you know what I mean? So I think it's most important for them to run their race and work on themselves and get better, and not get caught up in kind of outside factors and outside expectations, really. And I think that they're dialed in, and they're very self-driven, and I think that they're working hard, keeping their head down each day, and they're handling it this season the way I would expect them to. You know what I'm saying? They're ready and willing and able, and they bust their tail every day. They're having fun. They got a smile on their face. They're supporting their teammates. So I'm excited about the way that they're playing, and I look forward to getting them out there even more.
Back to Eric McKinney.
Vic, your group got hit with a couple big opt-outs before the season, and specifically talking about Jay. What was the messaging and kind of the procedure of pushing past that and moving on and kind of getting into the year without him?
Right. So I wasn't here when he was here. Right. So all I know are my guys. So there wasn't anything that I had to get over or had the group to make this big deal about someone not being here. He was never here. Right. So it fell upon the shoulders of guys like, dude, I hear a lot about this guy that's not here. I want to hear more about the guys that are here. You know what I mean? Like, I want to see who steps up. Again, it comes back to opportunity. as your role increases and your opportunities increase, if the production doesn't increase too, then something's wrong. So I think Marlin, has stepped up. Nick has stepped up. Tuley stepped up, and kind of formed our own identity of what we want, our D line to be.
And then Washington State is another team you guys see this year that with new coordinators. Where do they sort of stress a defensive line, that offense that Rolovich brings in?
Yeah, their quarterback is really good. He's a dynamic player. He's young. He's fiery, man. He'll shoot some stuff up out of nowhere, and he'll run around. And so, anytime you have a quarterback that's dynamic like that, it stresses the D line. And then they have a lot of receivers that can make plays. So, for us as a whole, that offense it stresses us being able to stay on our targets and play with the right technique and fundamentals and not look in the backfield, or else we'll get beat.
Back to Ryan Young.
Vic, we talked about the practice standards, expectations, and but in terms of building an identity, you went up there. What's been the process of acceptance or pushback from the guys? And for some, does it just seem like it's been a major culture shock to them, which you want them to buy into?
I don't think it was really a shock. I think a lot of these guys, you come to SC to win a bunch of games and ball out. And being hired here, there was just a hunger, to be better. And regardless of what it was, whatever I told them, I'm sure they would have been all in just because they wanted to be better. And what they're seeing now with Coach Orlando's defense and how he calls plays, they're seeing the return on investment of, doing things a certain way. And so I didn't feel any pushback or anything really, other than guys that were just really, really hungry.
Keary, I don't know if frustration is the right word, but with defenses more and more selling out to take away the downfield passing game, how has that affected your guys in your room? Because obviously they're not getting to fully unleash what they have in the past or what they may want to do.
It hasn't affected us at all, to be honest. I mean, at the end of the day, our mindset is to take whatever the defense gives us. You know what I mean? And we don't get to dictate what we play against. And everybody, our mindset is to score touchdowns as an offense. Again, I talked about it earlier. It goes team, it goes unit or offensive unit, then it goes position group, then individual. So at the end of the day, we're about scoring touchdowns for the Trojans and scoring points for the Trojans, and we'll do it whatever way we have to.
We'll do one last question from Shotgun.
Hey Vic, what does Jacob Lichtenstein add to the group, getting him as an opt back in, and where can we kind of expect him to line up?
Yeah, it's great to have him back. He adds length and athleticism immediately, and then really a lot is unknown. We'll find out through the week of practice and what his body is ready to do. Obviously, jumping back into the middle of the season, it's just a different deal than a lot of other times you're starting to play, right? You usually get a training camp or a spring ball or even a winter workout session before you actually play, and he's jumping into the middle of the season. So it's uncharted territory, and we're taking it one step at a time, and we'll see. But excited that he's back. Excited of the potential that he could bring into our room, and we'll go from there.
Okay, thanks, Vic and Keary, for joining us this morning. Great job. And to the media, thank you for being here. A reminder that our next session will be tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. with Coach Helton. So with that, everybody have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.